All right. So as you can see, 2 more meetings after tonight, and we'll cover everything loosely and go from there. Any questions or comments or complaints tonight before we get started? Just it's self-explanatory. Just follow the schedule down. Sometimes I might have left something out of the top schedule up here, so be sure you follow this particular outline here. That's the one you want to follow when you click the clipboard up at the top right. Be sure you follow that one. Some labs are optional, some are required, so I try to make that clear. Some of you may have missed this one. I don't think I had it listed in the outline, so be sure you just kind of follow this outline down. Okay, we're going to get started with Module 19 tonight and talk about that. Cover 19 and 20 pretty good. Probably 21 not as well. So a little bit about the principles of security. This is probably nothing new to y'all. We talked about this before, I think. This triad of security, confidentiality, integrity, availability. There's a lot of questions on the CyberOps, actually it's called Cybersecurity Operations certification now. They changed it from CyberOps. A lot of questions on confidentiality and integrity and availability. So confidentiality is what it says. It prevents the disclosure of information to unauthorized people, resources, or processes. Integrity ensures the accuracy and trustworthiness of the data. I am going to turn my video off because why can't I find it? I'll get it in a second. And availability ensures that information is accessible by authorized users when needed. So those three are kind of the backbone principles of security. And along with that, there are some other things that fit into the cube. Information states have to be safeguarded. So we have data at rest, we have data in transit, and then we have data in process. And so all of that has to be safeguarded, very important. And in order for that to be safeguarded, we have to use lots of different things and lots of different skills and disciplines. So we have to use technology, there has to be policy and practice, and of course people to protect that confidentiality, that availability. Very important. So just a little bit about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Let's see if you can get this right. So little participation tonight. If I'm hashing files and data structures, we talk a little bit about hashing files tonight. Would that be confidentiality, integrity, or availability?
Integrity.
Okay. Okay. I didn't see the hand. Right. Integrity. Very good. Thank you. I've got the participation panel closed. So how about redundancy?
Availability.
Okay. Availability. How about encryption?
Confidentiality.
Okay. And how about eliminate single points of failure?
Availability.
Okay, good. How about identification and authentication?
Confidentiality.
Okay, good. Password and ID badges?
Confidentiality.
Okay. Data backups?
Integrity.
Okay. Availability. You could make a case for integrity as well. And then biometrics,
Confidentiality.
right, confidentiality. So those three, very important. You'll get a lot of questions on the certification test on those. So let's look at those countermeasure. We talked about the technological, the administrative, the educational techniques that could be used to protect that confidentiality and integrity. So how about biometric fingerprint scanner? Would that be technological, administrative, or educational?
Technological.
Technological.
Okay. How about awareness posters in the office?
Educational.
That was an easy one. How about that IDS and IPS appliance, the protection and detection?
Technological.
Okay, technological. Securing your desktop video.
Educational.
Okay. Remote login procedures.
Administrative.
Yeah, the operative word there is procedures. Acceptable use policy.
It's administrative too, I think.
Okay. Administrative. Security awareness training.
Education.
Okay, these are too easy. Passwords changed every 30 days.
Administrative.
Right, that's a policy, even though we know it's hateful. And electronic badge system, of course, technological. So all of those are countermeasures that we have to understand what is being used. There's tons of questions on the cert on those three things as well. So the curriculum talks about access control models, and this is very important. There's 4. In fact, it'll have like, what is these, it's kind of highlighted that the strictest kind of access control. So that is mandatory access control that enables user access based on their clearance. So that is the strictest. Then we have discretionary access control. If a user is owner of that data, then they sort of control who has access to it. Non-discretionary is based on roles and responsibilities, also known as role-based access control. If you have a certain role, you need access to certain information. Attribute-based access control is based on the resource itself that needs to be accessed. Does this user need to have access to this particular resource in order to do their job? It makes the point many times that access control model is the principle of least privilege. Don't give access just to randomly give access, only sort of like a need to know type thing. Only if that amount of access is required for that person to perform their work. Zero trust security, that's pretty much don't trust anybody until they need it. It is kind of aggravating sometimes when you're trying to do something like I mentioned before, downloading Kali Linux and they wouldn't let me do it. I can't imagine. So sometimes you just, that's part of my work. I need to use that, so I have to download it on another machine that's not tied to work. So we just want to secure access from users because you and I both know they're the culprits. Never trust instead of, we use never trust, always verify. So we want to prevent that unauthorized access. We want to contain breaches. We don't want to have to do damage control. So any place in which an access control decision is required should be considered a perimeter. So all that is given a lot of thought, both administratively, both technologically, and so forth. 3 pillars of zero trust are workforce, workloads, workplace. For the workforce, that consists of the people who access those applications using their devices. Then Zero Trust for Workloads, that's about the applications that are running in the cloud or in the data center or other environment you may have at work. Like secure access when an API is used. Then Zero Trust for the Workplace, just secure access for all devices in the workplace, including the Internet of Things. Then the curriculum talks about, I'm not going to cover near what the curriculum talks about in Chapter 19. AAA is a scalable system. Students sometimes have trouble understanding the difference in these. I assume you all know them. Authentication is you have to be who you say you are. So there has to be some kind of ID. You are authenticated when you make a purchase with your credit card and your expiration date and the security code. Are you authorized to use that? Yeah, I know who you are, but are you authorized? The simple example, have you gone over your credit limit? Then you're no longer authorized to spend that. And then accounting is the records what the user does and when they do it. Of course, there are AAA servers that are used in the workplace, and we're not going to cover that particular part. That's just another basically explaining that one. Again, authentication, some kind of username and password. There are many times a AAA server, so we have a centralized way to control that stuff. Authorize as a user, authorized to access using a server. How is he going to access it? Secure shell, some other way. And then the curriculum does talk about the AAA authentication, and this particular one, you can set up AAA authentication on a router. We don't really do this in CCNA. We do it in CCNP, also in network security. So that client establishes a connection. The router, if AAA is running on it, would prompt the user for a username and password, and that router many times may have a local database that holds those username and passwords, or it may pass it on to that AAA server to be able to validate that username and password. And so, again, the local database may be used, or it may be passed on to a AAA server. Here's the example of the AAA server. The same thing. The router is just going to pass that username and password combination, and the AAA server would then allow access to that router or that resource. So Module 20 is about threat intelligence. There's a lot of good information in Module 20. The big thing, I think the point they're making is, as a professional, I don't know about you. I mean, it is tough to stay informed. I take lots of updates, lots of reports. There is no way I can read them all, but I try to stay somewhat abreast of the latest threats, but you just can't. It does network security. You can learn the basics, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, but you do have to really stretch to continuously have professional development. The curriculum talks about SANS. SANS has quite a few resources available, and all of these are, I don't have a hot link to that, but I do on some of them. But this is when SANS started this Internet Storm Center, when we had all those DNS attacks, goodness, 25 years ago, and became a global security incident. So analysts discovered it and dissected it. So they established the Internet Storm Center. SANS also has something called News Bites. It's a weekly newsletter. Goodness, there's so many resources that I look at. I love Sentinel-1 has some good information. We're going to talk more about MITRE ATT&CK in Module 28, but it's a knowledge base, very important. It stands for adversarial tactics and techniques and making those things common knowledge, a MITRE attack. Cyber professionals use it a lot. It's a wonderful website to what are these vulnerabilities out here. There's other information services that have these as well. It's just kind of, you've got to find your favorite one, the one you like the best. Can also be used to simulate cyber attacks. And of course, updates, and it is free. A lot of this stuff is free. Security News Wires, that's just more threat intelligence. ISC Squared, that has courses. It has training, certification, CE, Center for Internet Security. All of these are great. Cisco cybersecurity reports, I get those. I can't possibly read all of these, but these are all intelligence services, intelligence communities that can be used. Some of the services, Talos, Cisco Talos is really great. Let's look at it real quick. It's got all kind of stuff in it. We can go here to intelligence search. We can look at email and spam trends. And it shows us here top senders by IP address. If you look at the top senders, the top 10, it has vulnerability reports. And the cool thing about this is it gives you a vulnerability report. And then we'll talk about in a few minutes about the CVE database. So you can actually click here and it'll take you to the CVE database and tell you exactly what that vulnerability is. Of course, the worst kind of attacks are 0-day reports. That means that that particular thing or that particular threat, that particular threat person has never been seen before. So it's 0-day. You don't have a history of it. You can't go back and see what's happened or what's being used. So those are the 0-day reports. Incident response, you can look at things that have already happened, reactions. You can look at proactive services. There's tons of stuff. There's a good blog here. I may have shown you all this before. There's some good blogs. I try to look at these every now and then. This is your sign to step away from the keyboard. Martin shows how stepping away from the screen can make you a stronger defender. So all of these are really rich. Of course, this is a Cisco deal, so we like the Cisco deals. So it's a commercial threat intelligence team. It's free for the most part, but there is a subscription service that, of course, is a little bit more powerful. Here's that common vulnerability and exposure database. The United States government sponsored that MITRE Corporation, and the MITRE Corporation created this CVE. This is really something that you could use with your students. You can actually have them look at some resources. It's changed a lot since I've been using it. Here's some use guide. They used to have a tutorial on it, and I looked this afternoon and I didn't really find the tutorial. This is workflow tutorial. That may be it. I'll have to look at it again. But this is actually, you can look up a number. So if I go back here to this incident response, it was a vulnerability report, and I look at 2025-27724, 2025-27724. It tells me that it's a privilege escalate, and notice that it came from Talos. A privilege escalation vulnerability exists in login functionality of MedDream Premium. A specially crafted PHP file can lead to elevated capabilities. An attacker can upload a malicious file to trigger this vulnerability. Really rich information. So Again, you kind of work in tandem between TALUS and CV common vulnerabilities. Those are just the common ones. The problem is those 0-day reports, the things that we have not seen before that are kind of dangerous. So there are other threat intelligent platforms, centralized collection of threat data. We have mentioned indicators of compromise. There's tools, techniques, and procedures, reputation information. You can go look up this reputation. I believe if we look up, let's see, let's just go here. Intelligence service, search by URL. Let's look up desu.edu. It's not going to give me a whole lot. Let's see who is. Okay, it's EDU database. There's the domain name, the registrant. There's the administrative contact. You can, let's see, what else can you do here? That's the owner details. You can do the email volume history. May not give us anything. No, it doesn't give us anything. Yeah, a lot of the EDU sites are kind of protected. Let's look up esc11.net. Let's look up my domain. Email volume history. Okay, let's see. 723, 726. This is historical, so we probably don't have the history. And look back here. I don't know why we're going up and down here. That's kind of interesting. So top network owners, we're kind of top tier ourselves. So anyway, there's some interesting things. You can spend a lot of time on this. You can assign it and see what students can come up with. Didn't let me take off where I left off here. Okay, module 21. We're not going to talk a lot about it because, again, there's that cryptography and there's that data integrity. Cryptography is used to ensure data integrity, guarantee that that message is not altered, guarantee that it's authenticated, it's confident, non-repudiated, guarantees that the sender cannot repudiate or refute the validity of a message. I would recommend, you know, some of these YouTube videos are great. I recommend this one, A Quick Understanding of Cryptography. This is a pretty good one. You have to get rid of the egg thing. We won't watch the whole thing.
Strong and healthy.
Are you ready to dive deep into the complicated world of cryptographic hashing functions? No? Good, neither are we. That's why here at Whiteboard Crypto, we...
I don't, could y'all hear the audio?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay, I wasn't sure you can hear it. So I recommend you look at some of those if you have trouble with it. I thought we'd do a lab to do a little bit of hashing. I believe, I can't remember if this is a required lab or not. But let's look at this lab real quick. Close this down. And I've got VirtualBox open already. So in this particular one, we're going to use OpenSSL. It's just a tool that allows secure communication. It gives functions like generating keys and certificates and encrypting data, gives us a hash and so forth. So we're going to hash a text file. So I've got a text file in here, and this is a lab for y'all. And we're just going to use OpenSSL as a standalone tool. So we're going to change to the directory where we have our lab support files. Okay, and there is a letter in here, and we're going to print the letter to _Grand Mall. Okay, so I'm writing this letter and so forth. I wish you the best and so forth. So now I want to change that file. Let's see, do I want to change it yet? No, I don't want to change it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hash that text file, and we're going to use the open SSL. That's one thing you can use. And we're going to use the SHA-256. So SHA-256, that's a hashing tool. You'll read about that in the course. So letter to grandma .txt. So we've got a hash now for that letter. And whoops, no such file. Oh, I got to spell it right. How narrow-minded. Letter to grandma. Okay, so there's my hash right here. Nice long hash. And so it tells us that we're using SHA-256. We're having a hash that's displayed after this equal sign. Their hash functions, like this SHA-256, will verify the integrity of the data. So even if it's an image, doesn't matter what it is. This is a small text file. Even a small change would produce a different hash. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a small change into this letter, and we'll use nano letter to grandma .text, and we'll change it. The lab wants me to change to grandpa, so I'm going to change it to grandpa. Control X, save it, yes. So now I've changed that one letter in that particular one, and I'm going to use the same command, open SSL SHA-256. Now that new text file I changed one letter. Let's see what kind of hash we get. So this hash, 43302, down here, and the other one is completely different. DEFF9, this is 43302. So this protects the integrity of a file. That's what a hashing function is for. Totally different. Just to prove that hashing function will verify. You can make the hash longer. We use 256. You can do 512. So let's do open SSL SHA 512 letter to grandma .text. And it is noticeably longer after the equal sign. It is noticeable. In fact, it actually should be twice as long as the other one. So you can do that as well. You can also, instead of using the OpenSSL, they have some other suggestions. You can use the command SHA 256 SUM letter to grandma text. And now I've got a shorter one. Shouldn't match one of our, yeah, it matches this right here. It's the same one, but I just used a different command. And then if I use SHA 512, it would be longer as well. And it should match the one right up here. See if it did. Yeah, 735 dB, 735 dB. So it's just, you'll do that lab just to kind of explore the hashing function on that particular one. Um, then confidentiality, data confidentiality. The curriculum talks about 2 ways of encryption, pretty much self-explanatory, symmetric encryption. And then we got to start talking about keys here. Use the same key to encrypt and decrypt data. It is faster, obviously, because the keys are shorter. If you have book data, curriculum talks about that you might use symmetric. Asymmetric, you have different keys to encrypt and decrypt data. Key links are longer, therefore it takes longer. Symmetric, use the same pre-shared key to encrypt and decrypt. So whatever comes in and after it's encrypted and decrypted, this key is the same on both sides. It comes out the same. Of course, the longer the key, the longer it takes for someone to discover the key. So you want things long in cybersecurity. This talks about block ciphers using streaming. And there's different kinds of ciphers. You've probably heard these before. Stream cipher is when encryption is 1 bit at a time. And then the asymmetric algorithms public key is when we have an encryption key, one thing, and then we have a public key, but we also have a decryption key that's going to be different. So you're using confidentiality and authenticity when you use asymmetric encryption. Longer key links, slower, of course. There is a good video in the curriculum. I would encourage you to do that. This is a required lab. You'll want to do that. I thought we would do, this is an optional lab, and the reason I thought it would be good is because this is really good to use for a lay person. If you have a presentation and you're you want to talk to them about, and you may have done similar things, about how important it is to have good passwords. This is a good one to do for them. I've done this before for different lay people. It illustrates how important it is to have a long password. So let's do this one. So I'm still in lab support files. Let's see, let me just walk out of there. So I'm going to make a directory called zip files. And I'm going to go to that directory, zip files. Can y'all see that okay? Is it large enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to create some files in that directory. This is, and I'm just following the lab, and it's there for you to use. And I've had, like I said, I've used this a number of times just to show people about passwords. It's very simple to do. And this is a sample text file, and I'm going to call the file sample1.txt. And then I'm going to create another one, call it sample2.txt. Do a third, sample3.txt. We make sure they're there. Oh, can't have a space. Okay, so I've got sample1, sample2, sample2. So now I'm going to zip up and encrypt those files. So zip file -1 zip.zip. And I want all of the files that begin with sample. So I use my wildcard. And it says, okay, enter a password. In the lab that I follow, it says enter a 1-character password. So I'm going to enter a capital B. I'm going to verify it. I entered a capital B. So now it's in there. It's saved. So I'm going to create some other files. Let's do file sample. I'm going to do file 2 so we can kind of illustrate this process. We'll create file 2. And this password, I'm going to use 2 characters. And then I'm going to do a third one. And I'm going to do a 3-character password. And then file 4. I'm going to do 4 characters. Whoops. And then one more. Make sure my finger's not. It'll tell me if the passwords don't match. Okay. So let me make sure that they're all there. Let's list -L, all the files that start with an F. Okay, so I've got 4 zip files. 1, 2, 3, and they each have different passwords on them. So now I'm going to go ahead and unzip one and see if I can unzip it. Unzip file 1.zip, and that password was B. Did I do something wrong? Unzip. I wasn't expecting that. Unzip file 1.zip. Okay, so I'm gonna use an incorrect password. Okay, so incorrect password. I'm gonna try again. Incorrect password. Now I'm gonna enter the right password. It didn't give me the password. Don't you hate this? Let's try another one. Unzip file 2.zip. And what password did I use for that? Let's see, R2. No, I don't want to do that. This is not great. Let's go to the next part of the, let me make sure they're still all there. So they're still all there, hopefully with the right password. So there is there's a lot of different password crackers that you can download. This particular one is called fcrackzip. Fcrackzip. Let's see if we can crack it. Hopefully this is going to work out okay. You never know. 1 through 4. And what I'm looking for is I want to crack the password that has 1 to 4 characters in it for file 1.zip. And we see the password was found, and it was indeed B. It didn't take it long to crack it, did it? So let's see if it'll crack this one, 2. And I just used 2 characters on that. And there's the password, R2. That's correct. This just demonstrates to people how quickly things that can be downloaded can crack passwords. So let's do file 3. We still are less than 4. And OB1 is the password. I just used what the lab suggested. All right, and let's do file 4. Takes a little bit longer. Did you notice? Because it's 4 characters. So I do have one that's 5 characters. So I'm going to have to change that to 5 and change this to 5. And it takes a little longer, just 5 characters. And the last time I did this seemed like it took 10 or 15 minutes. And this just illustrates to people who fuss about changing their password that the longer the password, the better. So, you know, these little, and that's why we have password requirements. The special characters are good too, but really it's the length of the password that's important when we're setting up passwords. So this may go on for a while. But anyway, that is a good little lab, and that lab is called, we'll come back to this. Yeah, encrypting and decrypting data using a hacker tool, if you ever want to use that. That's in 21. Right, there it is right here. And it was optional for you. But if you need something to demo, to show people how easy it is to crack a password, that's a good one. Okay, that is all I have for 19, 20, and 21. So I need to see if you have any questions or comments. I seem like I just talk and y'all, I don't give y'all a chance to say anything. Complaints?
Okay, is there any length password that's not crackable?
That's a good question. My opinion, probably not. If because that little password cracker that I downloaded was pretty simple. There are much better ones.
Yeah.
But I don't. That's a good question. Maybe somebody else knows.
I don't know the answer to that, but the interesting thing is if the Chinese are to be believed, they have a working quantum computer, which is orders of magnitude more processing power, which means brute force cracking of longer passwords is going to be easy for the Chinese state.
Good point. Good point. And we still rely on passwords. And I work very hard to have different passwords at all the different sites and have a password manager and everything. But, you know, the truth of it is, if someone wants to get into my stuff, I bet they can get into it. They want my stuff that bad. I think they'd go after bigger fish. Let's hope so. It's a good thing I'm not wealthy because, you know, if I'm a poor person, I think I'm pretty safe. Okay, I will not see you folks till the 25th of August, so that's 4 weeks from tonight. As always, if you have a question or a comment, please let me know. I'm happy to answer anything, try to answer anything. And we'll cover the last few chapters in the next 2 times that we meet. I'm going to stop the recording